How does Notre Dame become relevant again? By the way, the White Sox just beat the Royals in the bottom of the ninth inning. They just won 6-5. I checked my monitor, so I'm very happy. The White Sox are on fire right now. They're currently 20-12. All the arrogant Cub fans were talking shit last weekend about how they were going to sweep the White Sox. Now the White Sox hadn't played anyone, and how they only beat his team like the Tigers. And I believe that the Cubs lost 2 out of 3 to the Tigers. I could be mistaken because I don't pay attention to the Cubs. But the Cubs got the shit kicked out of them by the White Sox. And the White Sox hit so many home runs that it made my head spin. Yeah, so all you Cub fans out there, you've been kind of quiet since the White Sox dominated you. And the White Sox now are currently 20-12, and they are on fire. At the beginning of the year, I was a little nervous because I thought this rebuild wasn't going to work. You know how fans are. We're up and down. We're like a roller coaster. And all the Cub fans now are like, well, what about you Sox fans? We're about to jump the ship. You Sox fans were about to jump off the bandwagon. No, see, you know, I always talk bad about Michigan fans. And I always talk about Cub fans because those are the two teams I do not cheer for, okay? Cub fans forgot who they are. They forgot where they came from. You guys sucked up until 2016. I don't care about 03 when you blame the dork who went to Notre Dame. By the way, he did go to Notre Dame, Bartman. I don't care if you blamed him for losing the 03 in LCS. That's because you guys choked. I don't care about you teams in 08 or teams in 2015 when you got swept by the Mets. Up until 2016, you guys sucked. And then ever since 2016, you guys have sucked. Okay, you didn't even make the playoffs last year. The year before, you barely made it. So you need to remember where you came from, and you need to relax. And please, for God's sake, stop wearing flip-flops at Wrigley Field. You're embarrassing yourself. But that being said, I digress. And I don't even know if I pronounced that right, but I don't care because on this page, grammar is out of the window because I do whatever I want, whenever I want, and I say whatever I want. But let's get back to the topic. How does Notre Dame become relevant? And by the way, back to the White Sox, they are 20-12 and they are on fire. Watch out, Twins. The White Sox are nipping on your heels and the Cubs suck. And go buy some shoes, Cub fans. I really appreciate it. Stop wearing flip-flops at Wrigley Field. You're not cute. So, that being said, how does Notre Dame become relevant? How does Notre Dame become the once glorious football program like they were in 1988, which was such a long time ago, and I was 9 years old, not to give away my age? It's easy. You pay your players. Yes, I said the three little word, pay, P-A-Y. And you're probably thinking, what the hell are you talking about? You are crazy, B-man. Why would you pay your players? That causes universities to get the death penalty. That's cheating. That's scandalous. They'll no longer be Notre Dame football if they pay their players. You're wrong. Before 2020, in December, it was like around Christmas time, before the COVID-19 took over the news, took over the country, and it's been an asshole, and it's a piece of shit, and I hate COVID-19. It's done terrible things to this country. To everything, to people, finances, and it's taken people away from their families, and it's been an awful. 2020 has been an awful year, and I hope 2021 is a better year. But before all this bad shit happened, there was breaking news out of the NCAA. Players were allowed to be paid through likeness. Now, what is that? They were allowed to be paid through jersey sales. They were allowed to be paid through video game covers. They were allowed to be paid through jersey sales, and I already said that. I said it twice. I say another thing, I don't like to repeat myself on here. I know I do that a lot, folks. I'm trying to correct myself. I'm trying to get better for you. Posters, jerseys, shoes, video games, they were able to make some of the revenue that these companies were selling. Before they made college football games, and the NCAA did not like that the players were bitching and complaining that they should be able to get paid for it. So the NCAA decided in 2014 that they were going to cancel all football games, video games, and they were going to stop putting football players on big time posters to get sold for it, and so these players would not get paid. It was a big ordeal. It pissed me off because I loved playing the EA Sports college football games. And then in 2019, like I said, very late December around Christmas time, they struck down the rule that players were able to make revenue, and that's great for college football. That's great for the athletes because it's not fair that these athletes are not getting paid through their talents and their athleticism and their sweat and blood. Now, listen, I get it. College athletes, they get mostly what other college students don't get. They get a full ride scholarship. They get free room and board, etc., food, whatever you want to call it. They get the Cadillac. Not literally, but they get the Cadillac deal. That's the explanation I'm trying to give you, an analogy. But there's also been whispers and also been complaints. There's also been ideas that should college football players get paid like professional athletes. Now, before, I was against it. I was like, no, they get scholarships, like I said before. They get scholarships, free room and board. But then I said, you know what? I said, they deserve more. Pay them. Because this is going to be great for schools like Notre Dame, private schools like Notre Dame. Because I'll explain that to you. Let's say the salary cap for Notre Dame would be $200 million because Notre Dame would be able to generate that revenue like that if they became relevant again. All right. Notre Dame, like I said, has revenue contracts and TV contracts through NBC. They would make a fortune off that. Other things like Under Armour. Now, Notre Dame doesn't have advertisement in their stadium. They put a couple up there. They make money through that way. Notre Dame would be able to do it, bang, through and through. They would be able to pay these players, and they would be the big-time program. Because these other schools wouldn't be able to do that with their revenue because they share it with other teams in their conference, and they don't have their own TV network like Notre Dame does, NBC, when they play at home. Now, what would Notre Dame need to do to become relevant again, a big-time program? Now, when I say relevant, yes, Notre Dame is a relevant football program. When I still think about college football, I think about Notre Dame. But like I said before, and I don't want to get into this elite team bullshit. You know I don't like that word. Yes, I know they're not a Clemson, they're not Ohio State, and they're not Alabama. I get that. Okay, however, if they were able to pay their players, they would become better than that. Because what Notre Dame would need to do, and I've said this before, they need to lower their academic levels. Now, you Notre Dame alumnus out there who think that you're above the football program and say this is more than a football program. This is an elite, exquisite institution, the University of Notre Dame. BS. It's a football school. And you get your money through the football program. I don't care what you say. You get your money through athletics. Lower your academic levels a little bit for these athletes so you can get these players to come in. Brian Kelly has been a somewhat successful recruiter. Okay, he's had decent players come in there and compete. They just haven't had that big star player to come in there and make a big difference, or the big time quarterback. If they were able to pay their players, which eventually they will be able to do, I think in the next 10 years. I don't know if Brian Kelly will be there in 10 years. But however, Notre Dame would be sitting on a gold mine if they did this. And going back to the academic levels, they've done it before. They did it for Holtz in the 80s. And a lot of Notre Dame fans right now are saying, you're freaking crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Lou Holtz was a great recruiter. Yeah, Lou Holtz was a great recruiter. He's a great motivation speaker. Now, Lou Holtz is in the news right now because Lou Holtz had a difference of opinion. And Lou Holtz isn't following everything else like everyone else wants you to. So Lou Holtz is being called out right now. So I probably shouldn't have brought Lou Holtz because he's not a very popular topic right now. And I'm not going to talk about politics on here. I'm not going to talk about the situation with Lou Holtz, what he said about our president. Because you know what? Lou Holtz is a grown-ass man. He's very successful. I don't think Lou Holtz gives a shit what people think about him. And he probably doesn't give a shit what I think about him. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about politics, about what the current event is going on with him, what he said and what he did and who he supports. Because that's none of your business, what I believe in and what I follow and what I think is right and what is wrong. This is strictly about Notre Dame and honest about the Irish. Okay. But Lou Holtz is relevant. Not to go off topic. However, guys, come on. They bent the rules a little bit for Lou Holtz to get players in there. Even alumni, even players admitted to it that played there in the 80s. And that's fine. Schools do that. It's not cheating. Bending a rule, that's like semi-cheating. But you know what? Notre Dame has cheated before. They've had academic scandals there before. They've covered it up better than other schools. Notre Dame sometimes is like a very smart, crooked politician. They know how to cover things up better than others. A dumb politician gets caught in 3 months. Notre Dame, they're a little bit smarter. They got a little bit more power. They got a little bit more money. Now, Notre Dame, a lot of people don't know this, that their police department is on the Notre Dame payroll. They have their own private police department, and they don't publicly put out records there on what happens with their players to the media. And that pisses off a lot of people. And I'm probably not supposed to say that, and I'm probably going to get shut down for saying that, because Notre Dame is probably going to send an assassin to get me for saying that, but it's the truth. Read some of the reports out there about certain players being arrested for certain things, and you don't find out until months later what they did or what happened because they try to keep it under the rug. But, hey, like I said, I'm just being honest about the Irish. But that's what Notre Dame needs to do, folks. Lower the academic levels. Get out of the ACC conference after this COVID goes away. If they find a treatment, God willing, they do. And like I said, once they leave the conference, they start making their revenue again through NBC and all these other contracts, and they don't have to share it with other schools like they will this year in the ACC. You'll be sitting on a gold mine. And I don't know what the ramifications are going to be with salary caps and how much they can pay them. I don't know how those discretions are going to work, stuff like that. It'll probably all be figured out by the NCAA. But if that were to ever happen, that's pretty much the only way Notre Dame can become relevant. Because let's say they have a big-time 5-star quarterback coming out of Florida. He's a highly 6'5", 225-pound, a gunslinger, and a mobile, very quick, I love mobile quarterbacks. I love quarterbacks who can escape the pocket. Let's say he's a dual-threat quarterback. That's the word I was looking for. I had a little bit of a brain fart there. And let's say Clemson offers him $100,000 to pay there for 4 years. And then he goes to Notre Dame and says, well, you know what? We'll pay you $500,000, close to $1 million, plus incentives, plus shoe contracts, stuff like that. Of course he's going to go to Notre Dame. Look, it's a smart thing to do. A lot of people are going to disagree with me and say, you're not a real college football fan. Well, that's your opinion, but that's the only way Notre Dame can become relevant, unless they can prove me wrong. Because if Notre Dame was able to pay their players, believe me, they would be the New York Yankees of college football. They've got the money, they've got the dough, they've got the boosters to give them the money, and they have the sponsorships from NBC and all these other revenue-making giants. And it would be great. Notre Dame would be relevant again, and they would be hated even more because everybody hates the Yankees. And the Yankees are the top tier of baseball. When you think about baseball, you think about Babe Ruth, you think about the Yankees. That's what Notre Dame would become if they were able to pay their players and lower their academic levels a little bit. And it's fine. It's okay to bend the rules, guys. Lou Holtz did it before. And yes, he did. I know I'm pissing off a lot of alumni fans right now, but that's what I love to do. That's pretty much it for me today, folks. I'm tired. It's Friday. It's hot. It's been so hot out. I've been having headaches. I'm probably not drinking enough water. I work outside. But some breaking news from Notre Dame, actually. They're going to play South Florida on September 19th. Originally, they were supposed to play against Western Michigan, but unfortunately, Western Michigan canceled their season because of the MAC conference, canceled all fall sports because of COVID-19. So Notre Dame's only non-conference game will be against South Florida in South Bend. The time hasn't been announced yet, but of course, that game will be on NBC. But South Florida did play Notre Dame back in 2010, I believe, or maybe even 2010 or 2011. I remember that game because I was in the process of buying a car. The salesman had the game on behind me, and there was like a 3-hour lightning delay. And I just remember the game got over at 7 o'clock, and Notre Dame it was a bad game. And it was like one of those games that you just want to cry where they play so bad. And I try to forget that game, but the weather and me being at a dealership buying a car, I always remember that game because I just remember where I was. And I remember buying, I think it was a Chevy Impala that I had at that time, but I don't want to think about that game because it was an ugly game. There was a 3-hour lightning delay. Notre Dame had no momentum, and they sucked. And hopefully that doesn't happen again. But if it does, I'll go irate and I'll be pissed, and I'll be honest, and I'll be pissing off a lot of alumni fans like I did today. But you know what, folks? That's pretty much it today. Go Sox and go Irish. And please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And if you Notre Dame alumni fans are really upset with me, I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I'm giving you my opinion. But you know what? I love you. Everyone stay safe and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.